Hey, what is up everyone? Costas here, and today we are going to be taking a look at the physical PS4 games that I still own. These are ones that lasted through our trade-ins and playthroughs. While some may be more risque than others, we're pleased to have them in our hands nonetheless. So without further ado, let's get this ball rolling and show you guys some awesome PS4 games. First up to bat is Disgaea 5 Alliance of Vengeance with a bonus art book and soundtrack. Now, we picked this one up day one. It was $69.99 USD just for this base copy, and it gave you those pretty nice extra goodies. This game is wacky, zany, and lovable. I cannot begin to stress how many hours I poured into this game just trying to make the best team that I can make. This game takes the squad-based tactics formula and literally cranks it up to an 11, taking the core game mechanics to an entirely new level. Now, of course, inside you got the art book, you got the soundtrack, but what does it play like? Well, if you've ever played Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions or Final Fantasy Tactics Advance on the Game Boy Advance, then you would understand how it plays. You essentially have a squad, you take that squad, usually between 8 and 7 characters generally speaking, and you level them up to their highest points that they can get, so that way you basically just stomp everything. Well, Disgaea pretty much throws that out of the window and gives you a level cap of 9,999. Pretty crazy if you guys actually think about that. So you got a lot of wiggle room and a lot of customization, such as being able to attack with literally your whole party. You just throw them on top of each other into one giant humanoid tower, and the bottom person gets the luxury of literally throwing them at the nearest enemy. You also, of course, have the Prennies. They are the lovable, squishable penguins that are eager to serve their demonic overlords, and they blow up upon being thrown. Pretty spicy. Secondly, we have Plot. Joking. It is Dead or Alive Extreme 3 Fortune for the PlayStation 4. Now, this is a game that happens to have an infamous knack for jiggle physics. Aside from having outstanding volleyball mechanics, questionable other minigames, and in-game tanning systems, the game is actually quite solid in performance. Now, essentially, what you're doing in this game, well, you're the owner of a tropical resort where all of these ladies from around the Dead or Alive franchise come to just have some unwind time. There's no fighting here, ladies and gentlemen, just playful butt-bouncing, beach volleyball, rock climbing, sand in your butt action. Next up on our list, we of course have the wonderful game that is Final Fantasy XV from the company Square Enix. This game has been a long time coming. And of course, though, this one has been a game worth waiting for and one that we're still trying to slog through in playing. I love the fact that all this game is just literally 4 dudes on an epic car ride to save the known world. It is utterly and phenomenally fantastic and enjoyable down to the last drop. Now, of course, this game follows the typical JRPG standard. You have your party, well, I should really say the Final Fantasy standard. You have your party of 4 characters. Through the game, you'll occasionally swap here and there, but they take the combat to a new level versus the old kind of turn-based system where you had your team, you had the enemy, and then you would have an action bar that would fill up and allow you then to act depending on which character it was, and you'd have a set list move, magic spells, and so on. But this game is more real time. You are actually pressing buttons to attack, and you're actually maneuvering around the world in real time around the battlescape. So you have a lot more open-ended structure to attacking enemies in this game, which actually makes the series a little bit more refreshing. Think Final Fantasy XIII as the precursor to the system, but a little bit more refined, less restricted in terms of you being locked into a waiting game and seeing who gets to go first. So this game is very fun. It's the most open Final Fantasy game you can actually play at the moment, and of course they've been updating it with new DLC such as Gladio's DLC, and Prompto's I believe is also coming out. If not, it's already out. And of course you also can pick this up in either a collector's edition, which we don't have, but as you can see in our B-roll footage, we have the nice shiny reflective case. So you can pick this up now for pretty cheap. I do recommend checking your local stores. You should be able to find this for about 30 or 40 bucks, give or take. Next up, we have the Game of the Year, the OG, Overwatch Collector's Edition. Now, this game is the first game I ever played competitively, and is the only game where I actually feel comfortable enough in actually playing the game online and rocking it I generally like to stay away from these types of games, but man, Overwatch is just so good. So, the core principle for those of you that are still living under a rock and have not even seen this game, nor have even played another game called Team Fortress 2, this game essentially is a squad-based kind of action shootery thing. So you basically have 2 teams of 6, you have heroes that operate in defensive roles, supportive roles, tank roles, and offensive roles. Each have their own function. Offensive is meant to kind of get in there, harass the enemy, and kind of throw down a lot of DPS as quick as they can. Tanks, of course, soak up that damage. Defensive characters, while they're decent, they're more or less there to help kind of defend, snipe, or kind of keep everybody contained. Think kind of crowd control in essence. And then support is support. They're there to buff, heal, or just cause mayhem for the enemy team as they try to isolate you from the group and kill you. So you got that going for you. But of course, that's the basic principle of the game. You have several game modes such as capturing points. You have a free mode where you basically can just do whatever the heck you want. And of course you have the payload mode where you basically have one team moving a payload, the other team trying to stop said payload from moving. It is a very good formula and it has lasted pretty darn well. As you can see in our B-roll footage, we have the Collector's Edition. That Collector's Edition got you some pretty awesome swanky goodies. You, of course, inside got the soundtrack. You also got some postcards that showcase the game's various map locations. You also got the wonderfully amazing art book. And, of course, you got the steelbook case of the game, which is a very nice steel case at that. And lastly, you got the awesome Soldier 76 statue. That is pretty hefty. It's not going to go anywhere, and you could probably chuck it at somebody if they broke into your house. Just don't do it because we said it, please. You can, of course, find this game pretty cheap now. You should be able to grab it still for about 40 bucks, I'd imagine, since it is still a really hot selling game. And if you guys are quick, you guys can actually take part in the year 1 anniversaries, which start May 23rd and last until June 12th, if I'm not mistaken. So what are you waiting for? Go grab it. The next game to cross our desk is actually a current release and one that has had me lividly excited for years, and that game is, of course, Persona 5. Now, Persona 5 is a game that has got class, soul, rhythm, and perfection. The premise of the game is essentially you are a student person who has been troubled in whatever way, shape, or form. In this game, you kind of take the role of a person who is wrongly accused of interrupting a businessman's fun with a lady on the streets. So, of course, as luck always has it, you get a deadline to complete through the game. It's usually always about a year, and of course you also have to balance your awesome kick butt side fighting shadows and evil spirits while also getting good grades in school and joining school activities. In this game though, the school activities aren't really focused as much as they are in the older games where you had to join a club and all that fun jazz. High school, so much fun. But beyond that though, you kind of like a Final Fantasy RPG, you have a squad-based mechanic system where you have 4 characters, interchangeable. You'll have a large cast of characters to choose from. Some you might like, some you might hate, and they all have their strengths, as their personas are essentially their magical abilities. They represent your inner self, but as you being the badass main character that you are, you can have multiple personas, and that will allow you to kind of play the field in a different way or form. You can have your guy be more supportive, more buffing, while your other group mates just kind of throw their attacks and just wham on the enemy. But this game is insanely long at 172 hours for completion for those of you that like doing that. And of course, this is, of course, the latest entry in the Persona series, followed up by P4 Dan and Persona 4 Golden on the PlayStation Vita several years prior. So this game, of course, is brand new, so expect to pay $60 USD for the base version and $80 USD for the Collector's Edition, which you guys can actually see here. And now with that Collector's Edition, you, of course, get the game soundtrack, which is the smaller blue one. The full soundtrack that we have, the red case, or as they call it, the official, is only available online, and that will have to be got if you want to have the full sound experience. And trust me, you're going to want to listen to that soundtrack because Persona has one of the single best soundtracks in the game, period. And of course, you get a awesome Morgana plush. You also get the fantastic art book. And of course, the creme de la creme is the game in a steelbook case. And one thing I forgot to show, you also get a school bag, so you can kind of cosplay to your heart's delight or use it as an accessory bag, which is going to be our case. We have Senran Kagura Estival Versus, and this game is essentially the same as Dead or Alive Extreme 3, just think ninja schoolgirls fighting other ninja schoolgirls mixed with Dynasty Warriors and destructible clothes. So essentially what you're doing is you're taking control of many of these girls and you're going through missions trying to figure out why they're summoned to a weird ninja infested island and why they have to fight over and over and over. And really the game's story is but the combat is actually really solid. It's one of the more solid games that I played for 2016, and frankly speaking the box that you get comes with a lot of goodies. So of course inside you have the game itself in a jewel case typical. You have the art book, of course, which contains a lot of art. You also get awesome little holographic trading cards, so you basically have, I think, 5 school factions, and one of which is chosen randomly. You, of course, also have the amazing soundtrack that actually is pretty big. You also, of course, have the discs inside, which I won't show as they, shall we say, demonstrate some of the destructible nature of the clothes. And in course entirety, it's really nice. Now, when I got this game, it actually retailed for the same price, $60 USD. So it really didn't make sense not to pick it up. So if you guys want to get this game, do opt for the Endless Summer Edition, which is what is here. You might still be able to just buy the game separately, but come on, who wants to do that? The game is also available for the PS Vita too. Mind you, if graphics are really important to you, then you'll want to get it on the PlayStation 4 as the frame rate is 60 versus 30. So that wraps it up for our PlayStation 4 game showcase. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Personally speaking, Persona 5 and Final Fantasy 15 are the 2 games that I still have not completed out the list that I've shown you. I'm trying to work through these. These guys tend to have a long playtime, and I'm somebody who likes to go through JRPGs a little bit slower than most to just kind of get my full experience. So if you guys want to see more, be sure to hit that like button and be sure to subscribe, so that way we know that we're doing a good job at this. And hopefully you guys don't mind the new filming format. This is my first time trying out a scripted event, so bear with me if there are some hiccups here and there, but I'll try to give you guys the best delivery that I can possibly give you guys. So stay tuned for our next video. Hopefully we'll be able to get that up soon. I won't tell you what it is yet, but I hope you guys enjoyed as equally. So as always, this has been Casas, and I will catch you guys all in the next one. Take care, everybody.